Hello everyone. In the previous lectures, we saw the methods of charging a body and discussed the specific properties of charge. We need to focus more on two properties of charge from JEE, NEET, KSET and MSET perspective, that is the conservation and quantization of charge. We now know that charge is conserved and can neither be created nor destroyed, but can be transferred from one object to another. The net charge of an isolated system is conserved, or we can say that the net electric charge of the entire universe never changes. But then a question may arise in your minds that charge particles are created in some processes. Then my answer would be yes, of course, charge particles are created in some processes like pair production, and they are also destroyed in some processes like annihilation. But what we have to keep in our mind is that they are always created and destroyed in pairs with equal magnitude and opposite sign. Therefore, conservation of charge is always valid. Now let's have a deep dive in quantization of charge. In the last lecture, we have already discussed that charge is an integral multiple of basic unit of charge E, and the charge of a body Q is equal to plus or minus N into E. That is, charge comes in discrete packets such as electrons and protons, which have charge of minus E for an electron and plus E for a proton. Let's understand this by taking a real life example. While purchasing apples, you can buy 1 apple or 2 apples or 3 apples, 4, 5 or 6 apples and so on. In this way, you can buy n number of apples. But can you purchase half an apple? No, you can't. So your basket of apples won't contain any half apple, or 1.5 or 2.5 and so on apples. So here you can say that your basket of apples is quantized. It is equal to n apples, where n is an integer and 6 in this case. Now you replace the basket of apples with charge. Then you say that charge Q is equal to plus or minus Ne. Millikan's oil drop experiment proved that charge is quantized. Existence of quarks which carry fractional electric charges plus or minus 2 upon 3 times E and plus or minus 1 upon 3 times E has been postulated, but they are not stable. That's why we still say that the charge Q is equal to plus or minus Ne. If a body has N1 electrons and N2 protons, the total amount of charge on the body will be N1 times minus E plus N2 times plus E, which is equal to N2 minus N1 times E. Because N1 and N2 are integers, their sum has to be integers and their difference will also be an integer. So, charge on any body is always an integral multiple of E and can be increased or decreased in steps of this E. Let's solve a couple of problems based on conservation and quantization of charge to have a clear idea on them. The first question is that two charged conducting objects collide and separate. Before colliding, the charges on the two objects are plus 3 times E and minus 6 times E. The final charges on the two objects will be, and the options given are minus 1.5 E, minus 1.5 E, minus 3.5 E and plus 2.5 E, plus 2E and minus 2E, plus 4E and minus 7E. Now, we can see that the value of initial charge on first body is plus 3E and the value of initial charge on second body is minus 6E. Then the total initial charge should be sum of these two charges, and this should be equal to plus 3E plus of minus 6E, which will be equal to minus 3 times E. Now we know that charge is conserved. Therefore, initial total charge, that is total charge before colliding, should be equal to final total charge, that is total charge after colliding. So check all the given options one by one by adding up the final charges. Option A is not possible because we cannot have half an electron as charge is quantized. Similarly, minus 3.5 E and plus 2.5 E are not possible because n is only either a positive or negative integer, not a fraction. Adding up charges in option C, we have total final charge is equal to 0, which is not equal to the total initial charge, which is minus 3E. Therefore, this option is also wrong. Now, adding up the two charges given in option D, we get the total final charge is equal to minus 3E, which is equal to the total initial charge. Therefore, option D is the right answer. So, in this problem, we used both the concepts that the charge is conserved and charge is quantized. Moving on to the next problem. If a body gives out 10 raised to 9 electrons per second, the time required to get a total charge of 1 coulomb from it is, and the options are 2 years, 20 years, 200 years and 2000 years. Here, given number of electrons is 10 raised to 9. And charge given out in 1 second will become Q is equal to plus or minus Ne. Therefore, multiply this number of electrons with the charge of 1 electron. Therefore, charge transferred in 1 second will be equal to 1.6 into 10 raised to minus 10 coulomb. Now we have the time required to get a total charge of 1 coulomb from it. How we have it? We can divide 1 upon 1.6 into 10 raised to minus 10 seconds. To get 6.25 into 10 raised to 9 seconds. Now convert these value of time in seconds into years because we have options in years. So to convert, what we do? We divide it by 365 days, 24 hours and 3600 seconds to get 198.18 years, which is approximately equal to 200 years. So for a body emitting 10 raised to 9 electrons per second, it will take nearly 200 years to get charge of 1 coulomb. This also shows how large is the unit of charge, that is coulomb. Therefore, it is usually mentioned in milli, micro, nano and picocoulombs. Coulomb invented a torsion balance to measure the quantity of a force and used it to determine the forces of electric attraction or repulsion between small charged spheres. Later, Cavendish also used this torsion balance to measure the gravitational constant with the electrically neutral spheres replaced by these charged spheres. What actually happens in the torsion balance is that due to electric force between the charged spheres A and B, the spheres either attract or repel each other, causing the suspended fiber to twist. The restoring torque of the twisted fiber is proportional to angle of rotation of fiber. This angle provides a measure of the electric force of attraction or repulsion. The basic principle involved here was that suppose the charge on a metallic sphere is Q. If this sphere is put in contact with an identical uncharged sphere, charge will spread over both the spheres and then on each sphere the charge will be Q by 2. Repeating this process, we can get charge of Q by 2, Q by 4 and so on. What Coulomb actually did was he varied the distance for a fixed pair of charges and measured the force for different separations. Then he varied charges in pairs keeping the distance fixed for each pair. Comparing forces for different pairs of charges at different distances, Coulomb showed that the electric force between the two stationary charged particles is inversely proportional to square of distance between them and is directed along the line joining them. And it is proportional to product of charges Q1 and Q2 on them. That is, F is proportional to Q1 into Q2 upon R square, and this law is often known as inverse square law as well. This can also be written as F is equal to K into Q1 into Q2 upon R square, where K is constant of proportionality called as Coulomb constant and is equal to 9 into 10 raised to 9 Newton meter square per Coulomb square. K is also written in the form 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught, where epsilon naught is called the permittivity of free space. Its value in SI unit is 8.85 into 10 raised to minus 12 coulomb square per Newton per meter square. If charges are dipped in a medium, then electrostatic force on charge is 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught epsilon r q1 into q2 upon r square, where epsilon naught into epsilon r is equal to epsilon, or epsilon r is equal to epsilon upon epsilon naught. Here epsilon r is the relative permittivity or dielectric constant of the medium and is a dimensionless quantity, and epsilon is the absolute permittivity of the medium. The value of epsilon r always varies between 1 and infinity. For vacuum it is equal to 1. For air it is nearly equal to 1, therefore can be taken as 1 for calculations, and for metals it is always equal to infinity. So you can use these values in your problems even if it is not given in the question. Coulomb's law is an equation giving the magnitude of electric force, or sometimes called the Coulomb force, between two point charges. Now, what is a point charge? It is a point-like object with a non-zero electric charge. An electron and a proton can be treated as point charges because their size is very small, and when the sizes of charged bodies are much smaller than the distance between them, their sizes may be neglected and the charged bodies are called point charges. For example, a charged metal sphere of radius 1 cm can be treated as point charge if it interacts with another such a sphere 10 meters away. But if the two spheres are only a few centimeters apart, then you can't treat them as point charges. So here context is everything while you deal with point charges. Now here's a DIY problem for you which is based on Coulomb's law. An electron and a proton of a hydrogen atom are separated by a distance of approximately 5.3 into 10 raised to minus 11 meters. Find the magnitude of the electrostatic force between the two particles. And here's your hint. We learnt in this lecture that according to Coulomb's law, magnitude of electric force between two charged particles is K into Q1 into Q2 upon R square, where K is equal to 9 into 10 raised to 9 Newton meter square per Coulomb square, and the charge of electron or proton is E is equal to 1.6 into 10 raised to minus 19 Coulomb. So you substitute Q1 and Q2 as 1.6 into 10 raised to minus 19 Coulomb and divide by the distance between the charged particle, which is given here as 5.3 into 10 raised to minus 11 meters. Substitute all these values in this expression of force to calculate the electrostatic force. Do write your answers in the comment section. I would be very happy to find your answers. Okay then, that's all in this lecture. Meet you in the next lecture with Coulomb's law in vector form. Till then, take care of yourself and keep learning new concepts. Thank you. Bye.